Hello everyone, and welcome to Slash Film Daily for September 21st, 2018. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the latest film and TV news. This is Slash Film Editor-in-Chief Peter Sciretta, and joining me on today's podcast is Slash Film writers Hoai-Tran
Hey everyone.
and Chris Evangelista.
Hello.
Okay guys, we got a bunch of news. I feel like the last couple of weeks have been kind of really slow, but yesterday and today, a bunch of stuff hit. And I'm actually kind of nervous because my recording studio is deep inside my walk-in closet. So it is kind of isolated from the rest of my apartment. And my new iPhone is supposed to be arriving today. And I have already missed one person knocking my door. And I was in my bedroom. This is much worse because I'm like deep inside a closet. So I'm worried that I'm going to miss my iPhone while recording this podcast. But that's just what I have to do for the love of movies.
You make your sacrifices for work.
Yeah.
For the journalism.
I can go another day without a bigger iPhone. It's fine. Okay, let's jump into the news. Let's start off with the news that they are making a Diablo TV series at Netflix. H.E., you're at the sub for today. What do we know?
Yeah, so Diablo, the popular role-playing video game series from Blizzard, is reportedly in development at Netflix, according to Andrew Cosby, who is the writer for the upcoming Hellboy reboot, Hellboy: Rise of the Blood Queen. So for the past few months, Cosby has been rumored to be attached to this series and has also tweeted previously that if he were writing a Diablo series, quote, it would definitely be rated R, unquote. So his most recent tweet, which has now been removed. He said, quote, I guess I can confirm that I am indeed in final talks to write and showrun the new Diablo animated series for Activision and Netflix. So this, again, was deleted by him, so we're not sure, there's been non-confirmation from Netflix yet, but it seems like this is heavily in development at Netflix and as an animated series at that, which might be able to help break that video game curse that has dogged so many video game adaptations for the past few decades.
This is interesting because, I don't know, this is a popular title. I mean, I know Blizzard, their most popular titles are World of Warcraft and that card game, Hearthstone, which is based in the, I guess, Warcraft world. But Diablo is a game that people have been playing for decades. Have either of you guys played Diablo?
No, you might want to cut this out because neither me or Chris have played it.
And neither have I. So that really makes us unqualified to talk about this. But I'm actually, I'm not a person that has ever played Blizzard games, but my friends are big Blizzard fanboys. They go to BlizzCon every year, and it's just from the outside looking in, I'm surprised that we haven't gotten a StarCraft movie going on, because that's kind of like what they're doing with Warcraft, but set in kind of like a sci-fi Star Wars universe. And that to me, at least, I'm a sci-fi geek at heart, I guess. That to me seems like the most appealing of their properties, but it doesn't seem like anybody wants to make that.
Maybe they're worried about oversaturation just because there are so many sci-fi movies and series right now. And a lot of them are related to Star Wars because, Star Wars has its hands in every pot from movies and TV to animated. So, yeah.
But they're slowing down. So there's a hole here for someone to take advantage of. But okay, let's move on to another story. We've been talking about that Child's Play remake. They have released a first look at the new Chucky. Chris, you wrote this up for the site. I know people can go to slashfilm.com and check out this first look. What is it? A teaser poster. You are a big Child's Play fan. What do you think of this?
I hate it. Maybe I say in the post that maybe I'm biased just because I love the original Child's Play franchise so much, and I think this remake is a terrible idea, but I don't like the look of this. I mean, on some levels it looks like Chucky. I mean, the red hair is there and the freckles and all that stuff, but it's really smooth and kind of I don't know, glossy, which just looks it just looks like a very fancy version of Chucky, which I don't like at all. The original looked like, a toy. This looks like something I don't know. This is like a porcelain statue almost. I don't know. It's very weird. But again, maybe I'm biased because the Child's Play franchise is actually, believe it or not, my favorite horror franchise somehow. Even though it's very silly, I love it. So I'm against this in every way, shape, or form.
No, I am definitely with you here. Like, I feel like the original Chucky doll looked like a doll. This looks, yeah, I guess what you said, a porcelain like kind of statue, like one of those really expensive dolls that they sell to, I don't know who they sell them to, but that's what it looks like to me. And it's weird too because like it's almost like it's too detailed. Like a doll really doesn't have that many details. The doll should be like, mass produced. And
yeah, he has like pores and stuff. Like, what is this? Like, he shouldn't like have sweat glands. This is a doll. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Chucky.
And his like eyebrows are super detailed. I don't know. Now, I love the original Child's Play because they used, animatronics for a lot of that, or for most of it, right? Animatronics and puppets. And that to me looks so much better than the CG Chucky that we got in later years. And not at this year's Halloween Horror Nights, but last year at Halloween Horror Nights, Chucky hosted the Terror Tram, where he takes over basically the studio tour, and then you get diverted into a bunch of haunted houses and stuff like that. And they did this completely CGI Chucky in that looked like the worst thing I've ever seen. So I'm really hoping that this looks like an actual doll moving. Do we know anything about like how they're bringing Chucky to life in this?
No, but they haven't said. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being primarily CGI because that just is how everything happens now. But yeah, there hasn't been any actual clarification on how they're bringing him to life this time.
And another thing I like about the Child's Play movies is like there's something so terrifying about a thing that looks like a baby or like a little kid coming to life and killing you. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost I almost want to see. Actually, Chris, tell me if this movie exists. Because I'm not sure if it does or not. I want to see a zombie movie where all the zombies are just like toddlers.
I mean, there are movies with like killer kids. They're not really zombie movies.
But I want to see like hundreds of like little toddlers like walking towards someone, and they have to like kick the toddlers in the head, and like it's really, really like wrong. I want it to be like insanely like not like appalling.
I mean. I'm sure somewhere that movie exists. I don't know.
I know our listeners are now thinking less of me for suggesting this, but I think that would be terrifying, at least judging from the original Child's Play movie. HT, have you ever seen the original Child's Play?
No, for me, dolls are the one point of no return for me. I will not watch movies with dolls. I'm very terrified of them. So I have never seen a Child's Play movie or a Chucky movie, so I'm just gonna stay away from this area in general.
So Annabelle is not for you.
No.
Okay,
I'll watch the other Conjuring movies.
Yeah. Well, she makes an appearance in those Conjuring movies, so I don't know. Yeah. So let's move on to our next story, and that is Robert Redford, who is retired now. As most people in Hollywood who retire, like big actors, has come out saying he regrets being retired. HT, tell us about it.
So 2 years ago, Robert Redford kind of shook the film community when he announced that he was planning to retire from acting and that his final film would be this year's The Old Man and the Gun, directed by David Lowery. And a lot of the acclaim and raves around this film, which has been making the film festival circuit, has been how it's a perfect swan song to Redford's 6-decade career and how it's a love letter to him as an actor. But now he's saying that this may not be his last film, or he may not retire after this. He's been very vague about it, actually. So at the premiere for this film, Robert Redford admitted that it was a mistake to have announced that he was going to retire. So, quote, "If I'm going to retire, I should just quietly slip away from acting, but I shouldn't be talking about it because I think it draws too much attention the wrong way. I want to be focused on the film and the cast." So later, when asked to clarify if The Old Man and the Gun is not his final film, he only cryptically responded, "I'm not answering that." So Who knows if this is his final film? It may be because he's noticing all of the raves that he's getting for his performance in this film, and he has just caught the bug again, or he wants to keep the door open for any future projects that might come his way.
I don't think he's retired. Like, I feel like, especially with, like, he runs, like, the Sundance Institute and, like, being around films, he, like, I don't know, he has the bug. I don't think he can stay out of it. Chris, do you think we'll see more films from Robert Redford?
I do. I feel like a lot of people do this thing where they're like, I'm going to retire, and then they get bored. And, especially like, I feel like Old Man and the Gun and some other stuff he's done recently has given him like a bit of a resurgence. And maybe he's realizing like, he still has a lot more to offer as an actor. So I think he'll be back, hopefully.
I always love it when it's a young actor who declares this. Like, I remember Emma Watson, after the Harry Potter movies, declared that she was gonna go away from acting. That didn't happen. So, not to compare Robert Redford to Emma, but let's move on to another story, and that is the feature film coming from This Is Us showrunner Dan Fogelman. It's called Life Itself. And we've talked about it on this podcast. It is not getting good reviews. And I think the worst thing you can do as a director is come back and try to criticize those who are criticizing your work of art. HT, tell us about what's going on with Dan Fogelman.
Yeah, so after this film was almost universally lambasted by critics, it now has a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. Dan Fogelman is fighting back, and he is essentially pointing the blame at the film critics themselves, and more specifically, the quote-unquote white male critics who don't like anything that has any emotion. So in an interview, he basically says, quote, "A couple of early reviews that have come out about this movie feel so out of left field to everybody who's a part of this movie. There's a disconnect between something that is happening between our primarily white male critics who don't like anything that has any emotion." And he goes on to talk about how film criticism is broken and how everyone is cynical. But that's ironic considering that not only does this are most of the critical reviews of this film, both from male critics, white male critics, but also from people of color and women. A large majority of them are from women, and some of the positive reviews, majority from white male critics too.
It's almost like he didn't even look at the Rotten Tomatoes and like make an assessment. Like he just like had already made up his mind that like it must be white male.
And there is an important point to be made that, yes, the film criticism community is overwhelmingly dominated by white male critics. But in this case, that's not the issue here. I think that he just made a bad film. Yeah.
And I don't think it's a bad thing to have a filmmaker engage with his critics and have a discussion, a reasonable discussion. Like, I feel like Rian Johnson has done a good, has walked that line pretty well, even though, there's a lot of toxicity around Star Wars that have kind of been attacking him. Chris, what do you think? Do you think like it's ever a good idea to have the filmmaker kind of like respond to critics?
I don't think it is. I think it's just a line you shouldn't really cross, because it never comes off well, really. And like, even, I don't think I've ever seen a critic, like a filmmaker, call out a critic and been like, yes, he was right to do that. It just never works out. I think, it's just better to, I get it. I know if I made a film and everyone hated it, I'd be like, oh shit. But it's best to just, let it go.
And Dan Fogelman's had so much success with This Is Us. I feel like he just, this is the first thing that he's done badly in a while that he's, you do spend so much time. You spend like years of your life investing yourself in writing, directing, casting, all that stuff, editing. You do have a personal connection. HT, what do you think? Do you think, is it ever a good time for a filmmaker to engage with the critics?
I think that there could be a place for it, but in this case, it's very reactive. He just has sort of a knee-jerk reaction to these critics who didn't like it and who kind of thought of it as being overly sentimental and mawkish, and he just kind of responded instinctively and essentially attacked them instead of looking at what their actual points were. So there probably is a place for it. I don't think this was the place, and I don't think he had the proper, response to everything.
Yeah, no, I agree. This reads more like, when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson responded to critics of Baywatch saying he made the film for the fans, not the critics. And, like, that always bothers me. It just seems like, lumping a whole group of people together is wrong. And that's what he's doing. He's making an assessment of a whole category of film criticism. On the other hand, I have seen film critics, address issues that people have had with their movies. I know people don't like to mention this guy, but Colin Trevorrow, I feel like, has tackled sometimes, like, when people didn't like his films, Jurassic World, more so than Book of Henry. Like, he actually came out and would, like, be like, oh, what, this is the intention with this, and, whatever. Like, not, like, in an angry, defensive attacking way. But, like, trying to explain yourself as an artist, which I think an artist doesn't necessarily have to do, but
yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel like there's sort of that, death of the author conceit going on here, where once you make a product, it's kind of out of your hands now, and sometimes it's up to the critics or the audiences to interpret it for themselves. And even when it's a film that's well liked by some people, like Mother, for example, I quite like that film until Darren Aronofsky started talking, and I was like, okay, I like it a lot less now that you keep hammering it in that it's a Bible allegory. I get it.
Yeah, especially when there's interpretations to be had. Like, I feel like I don't want that to be spelled out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, I know I saw Shane Carruth's, what was that film? Whatever Color? Do you remember, Chris?
Upstream Color?
Yes. I saw the film, and I kind of enjoyed it. And then there was this Q&A with Jeff Goldsmith after the film, where basically he got Shane Carruth to basically explain everything about the movie, all the the intentions, and it kind of totally ruined it for me. It's almost like did either of you see Donnie Darko, the director's cut?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a fan of Donnie Darko, but, like, that film kind of, like, is like, oh, here's what I was going for. I was like, no, it was better when we were interpreting what you were going for.
I agree with that 100%. I remember I loved Donnie Darko when it came out, and that director's cut, there are literally scenes where there's, like, text up on the screen explaining what's happening. No. And it was like, why is this in here? This is ruining the movie.
I was so excited for that. I was still living in Boston, or in Natick, and I traveled to Boston to this theater that had, like, the, one of the early premieres of it. And I was so excited, and I was so bummed walking out of that movie. But, yeah. Okay. Anyways, let's move on to our next story. And that is for this Joker movie that we've been talking a lot about. Joaquin Phoenix, the first, screen test of him in the full clown makeup has hit the web, and, it's getting a divisive reaction. Chris, tell us about it.
Yeah, so this isn't an actual scene from the movie. It's literally a camera test. It even says at the beginning, like, camera test. And it's, it starts off with Joaquin Phoenix looking like he does in that official image that was released a few days ago. And then it zooms in, and slowly there's all these cuts that eventually transforms him into the Joker. I guess it's hard to tell if this is, like, going to be the final Joker makeup or if this is just, like, an in-between thing. I personally think this is, like, something early, and then by the end of the film he'll look more like the traditional Joker. But either way, I gotta say, this is the first thing that's really sold me on this movie, believe it or not. I've remained very skeptical, even though this has an incredible cast. I've just been sort of, like, I don't know, on the sidelines thinking we don't need a Joker movie, especially, like, a standalone Joker movie. But I don't know, there's something about this footage, just the way it's shot and the way Joaquin Phoenix looks, that really convinced me he might, like, pull this off. He might actually make the film interesting just with his performance alone.
HT, what do you think of this?
I don't like it. So this is it's a very strange reversal for me and Chris, because usually I'm very excited about things, and Chris, on the other hand, is not. In this case, I'm not I still don't really know what to think of this movie, and I just don't think that this is working for me in any capacity. I think the main thing is that I kind of considered this one to be an origin film, so I didn't really anticipate us seeing him in Joker makeup at all. I thought maybe we'd see the transformation of it, and I was more actually interested in that origin story rather than actually seeing him become the Joker and having nods to the greater Batman universe or whatever. And I do like Joaquin Phoenix. I think he can pull anything off. I don't know what to think of this and how it feels like it's kind of teasing a lot of Batman fans into getting excited for a film for maybe a look that'll appear for like 10 seconds in the movie.
You really think that this look is only going to appear for 10 seconds?
I don't know. I don't really know what to think of this movie in general. I just don't think that it will. This is just my personal opinion. I don't think it'll play a major part in the movie.
Do you think that we will get an alternate Joker look by the end of this film?
I don't know. Possibly.
Chris, is this just like the first stage of him becoming
yeah, that's what I was thinking. I really think he might change. At the same time, a part of me doesn't want that to happen because I kind of like how different this looks. It doesn't look like any traditional Joker, and it has that face paint look that Heath Ledger's Joker had, but it doesn't really look like that either. And I kind of love. I think that's what sold me more than anything. The fact that it doesn't look anything like what you expect. I kind of feel like this is going to just basically defy everything people think about the Joker. I mean, even like giving him that name, like Arthur Fleck, is like not in the comics. So I don't know. I'm slowly becoming cautiously optimistic for this. So we'll see.
See, I'm optimistic for this project, but this look for the Joker doesn't excite me because he just looks like a clown. There's nothing unusual or interesting or iconic about this look. Looking back at any of the Jokers from the comics or, the best portrayals on the big screen, Jack Nicholson and Heath Ledger. Notice how I didn't say Jared Leto. And I don't know. I just feel like this is just so boring. And I really hope you're right, Chris. I hope that this is kind of like, the journey to become the Joker. And by the end of the film, we get this kind of like more iconic Joker look.
I just want to mark this momentous occasion where I was the one positive person for this subject. So
it happened.
Everyone out there who always accuses me of being too negative, put this in your journals. This was the day when everything changed.
It finally happened. Okay, let's move on to our last final story, and this is a story about Marvel's The Eternals, which is a movie in development, and they have hired a director. HC, tell us about it.
So Marvel has tapped Chloe Zhao to direct Marvel's The Eternals. Chloe Zhao is director of the acclaimed indie Western film The Rider, which came out last year and, earlier this year, actually. It won the Artistic Award at Cannes Film Festival in 2017. And Chloe Zhao, who was actually on the shortlist to direct Marvel's Black Widow movie, has now been tapped for Eternals, which will be penned by Matthew and Ryan Firpo. So this is going to be a film that will kind of take a more complex, convoluted area of the cosmic realm of Marvel Comics and try to bring it to the big screen. Reportedly, according to the Hollywood Reporter, we'll be seeing this as a love story between Icarus, a man fueled by cosmic energy, and Circe, who relishes moving among humans. And so it might boil down to that, or that might be one of the aspects of this film. But this is a really interesting choice, Chloe Zhao, because she already has won a lot of acclaim for The Rider, which got nominated for a few awards at the Independent Spirit Awards last year. And she's one of the up-and-coming auteurs of today.
When this news hit, my first response was, Chloe who? Because, I'm someone that writes about film, and, she's just not on my radar. I did see The Rider. I know, the only thing I know about it is it really got some, acclaim from the Indie Spirit Awards. I don't think any of us have seen The Rider, right, at this point?
No, I haven't seen it. It was in one of my local theaters for a while, and I really wanted to go and check it out, but then it just disappeared really quickly. So, but I do know, that one of our writers, Sedant, I don't know how to say his last name.
It's fine. He's a huge fan.
He's a huge fan of the writer.
Yeah, and Chris, you haven't seen that movie as well, right?
I haven't. I heard it's very sad, and I don't know. I was going through this thing this year where I don't really feel like watching anything overly sad. I've had enough, people.
It's now on my list of things to watch. Marvel has done this in the past where they've hired people that have had kind of like these small indie movies, like John Watts, who directed Spider-Man: Homecoming. They found out of this movie Cop Car that was at Sundance, which I saw at Sundance. So I mean, maybe this is something I just missed. It is good to see Marvel taking the criticism that they don't have many female directors a little bit more seriously. And also, I know you mentioned that there is, this love story possibly at the core of this, but I love that they are hiring a female director to direct a movie that isn't just like, a female superhero movie. Like, I feel like that happens too often. They're like, we'll only hire the female director when it is a female-led movie, like a female-focused movie. And it is good that they are looking beyond that.
I agree. I like that a lot, and especially because while I really encourage the studios to hire female directors for female-led films, I do like that they're letting them expand beyond that and not having to just associate with only stories that are part of their experience. So I'm really excited for this, and I think it's kind of funny too that they hired a female director for the Eternals, which is kind of Marvel's equivalent to the DC New Gods movie, which is also being helmed by a female director, Ava DuVernay. So it's kind of a funny parallel there.
Yeah. It also shows, I think, and maybe I could be reaching here, but that because they hired a director that wasn't even on my radar, which I think shows that they are digging deep to try to do some work in this area. So I'm happy about that. Chris, do you have any additional thoughts on Chloe directing the Eternals? Like, I've never read any of the Eternals. Like, I've read a lot of Marvel comics, but I don't really know much about the Eternals. Like, that's kind of beyond my realm.
I've honestly never heard of them, but I also had never heard of really the Guardians of the Galaxy either, and that ended up becoming like my favorite Marvel franchise. So who knows?
Yeah, same thing. I picked up a trade once that was announced, and I fell in love with them. So maybe that will happen with the Eternals. We'll have to find out. But HE, when is the Eternal? Like, do they have a release date or expected when it might be in theaters?
No, they don't have a release date yet. It's just I think in early development as of now.
Early development. Okay, very cool. That brings us to the end of today's Slash Film Daily. HT, where can people find more of your work online?
You can find me writing every day at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at htranbuoy.
Chris, where can we find you?
I'm also at slashfilm.com, and I'm on Twitter at Evangelista413.
You can find me at SlashFilm on all social networks. You can find all the stories we talked about today on slashfilm.com and linked in the show notes. You can subscribe to this podcast, Slash Film Daily, on all the popular podcast apps, including iTunes, Google Play, Overcast, Spotify, and slashfilm.com. Please send us your feedback, questions, comments, concerns to Peter at slashfilm.com, and go write a positive review of this podcast on iTunes. Tell your friends, spread the word, and we'll see you on Monday. My door, I have not heard a knock on my door, so maybe I did not miss this iPhone, guys.
Cool.
So did neither of you got the new iPhone?
No.
Which
one did you get? Did you get that insanely like $1,500 one? I don't think I can justify that.
Well, first of all, I don't buy the phone outright. I pay the monthly thing,
yeah.
and it lets me upgrade a phone every year because you trade it in. So I think I end up paying like $60 a month. What does that add up to? I don't even know.
Oh, interesting.
Whatever. It's too much money, and it's an S year. But are both of you Apple users?
Yeah, I'm an iPhone user. I have the 7, but I can't fathom having a phone bigger than what it already is. It's huge. I cannot put this in my pocket. I have tiny pockets.
Do you have the Plus, or is it the?
No, it's the regular 7, but it's already very large for me. So I don't know. I can't fathom any larger.
What about you, Chris?
I think I have the X. I don't even know what I have, honestly. Like
The X, yeah.
When it's time to get a new phone, my wife says it's time to get new phones, and I follow her to the Apple store, and I take whatever she gives me.
See, I'm an Apple fanatic, and I had one of those pluses, like what was it, 7 Plus or 8 Plus or whatever, and that was like my perfect. Like, I know it's huge, but I like being able to, see more information on the screen. And then when I got the X, which I think is the one that you probably have, it's smaller and it fits less information. So this one is going to be the one that I'm getting today is the same size as the Plus, but with a bigger screen because the screen, goes to the edges. I don't know.
Oh, right. I've seen that. Yeah. Right. It has like a larger, like flat screen. Wow.
Yeah. It's all unnecessary.
Yeah, I keep mine until I break it. So,
have you broken one? Like, you've actually broken your phone?
Oh, actually, I've only broken one once. So I'm pretty good about keeping my phone, safe.
Yeah,
I drop it a couple times, but
I actually go caseless, and I have only cracked my phone once.
Why?
Yeah.
Are you insane?
It was funny. Like one time, I remember I was going into a movie theater, and the person needed to scan the ticket on my phone, and I handed the phone to them, and they're like, "You don't have a case? You must be rich."
That's my thought too. I'm like, wow, this person must be just rolling in the dough.
I'm not.
Be so paranoid.
But that plan that you pay monthly includes 2 times for iPhone screen replacement if it were to happen, but it hasn't happened to me, so I don't know. Okay, guys, enough iPhone talk. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, bye.
Bye.